Hello, everyone. Today, we will explore one of the greatest turning points in the history of philosophy, a single volume that announced the dawn of a new era called modernity, René Descartes' Discourse on the Method. But first, imagine this. What if everything you believe to be true, your senses, your memories, the very world you see around you right now, is actually an elaborate dream, a cunning illusion created by a malicious demon? The 17th century French philosopher René Descartes was the man who confronted this question more seriously than anyone else in human history. He lived in an age of intellectual chaos, where the authority of Aristotle and the church was beginning to crumble and no one was sure what to believe. From this sea of doubt, Descartes sought to find a single, unshakable bedrock of truth upon which he could build a new foundation for philosophy. This book is not the finished product of his philosophy, but rather the record of his spectacular journey of thought to discover that bedrock. The Four Rules of the Method. Like an architect who first creates a detailed blueprint before demolishing an old building to construct a new one, Descartes first established a meticulous plan. This is the core of his philosophy, his four rules. The first rule is the rule of evidence. Never to accept anything as true if I did not have evident knowledge of its truth. This is the rule of radical doubt. Do not blindly accept common sense or authority. Accept only what your own reason recognizes as being absolutely certain. The second rule is the rule of analysis. To divide each of the difficulties I examined into as many parts as possible. This involves breaking down complex problems into their smallest, most manageable components. The third rule is the rule of synthesis. To conduct my thoughts in an orderly fashion by commencing with objects the simplest and easiest to know, I might ascend by little and little, and step by step, to the knowledge of the more complex. This means reconnecting the simple elements with a logical chain, rebuilding the whole. And the fourth rule is the rule of enumeration. In every case, to make enumerations so complete and reviews so general that I might be assured that nothing was omitted. This is a thorough double check to ensure there are no missing links in the chain of logic. Armed with these four tools, Descartes embarked on his magnificent thought experiment to demolish all existing knowledge. The radical doubt, the malicious demon hypothesis. Following his first rule, the rule of evidence, Descartes subjects everything to the filter of doubt. First, he doubts the senses. A stick half submerged in water appears bent. A square tower in the distance can look round. Our senses often deceive us. Therefore, the senses cannot be the foundation of truth. Next, he doubts reality itself. We sometimes have dreams that feel incredibly real. While we are in the dream, we do not realize we are dreaming. If that is the case, how can I be certain that this very moment, as I speak, is not also a grand dream? Therefore, the existence of the external world is also not certain. Finally, he doubts even reason. Even in a dream, a mathematical truth like 2 plus 3 is equal to 5 seems to be unshakable. But what if, he wonders, there is an all-powerful but extremely cunning malicious demon whose sole purpose is to deceive me? What if this demon is making me believe that 2 plus 3 is equal to 5, when, in reality, it is 6? If we consider this possibility, then even the truths of mathematics and logic are no longer certain. At the end of this process of radical doubt, Descartes is left standing in a place of complete nothingness, an intellectual ground zero where nothing is certain. I think, therefore I am, the discovery of the cogito. In this complete darkness, where everything is doubtful, Descartes finally discovers a single, inextinguishable light. It is the very act of doubting itself. Think about it. I am doubting that everything might be a dream, or I am doubting that I might be deceived by a malicious demon. However, the very fact that I am doubting. Can that be doubted? Even if a demon is deceiving me about everything in the world, the demon cannot deceive me unless I exist to be deceived. Doubting is a form of thinking. Therefore, I, who am thinking, must certainly exist. This is the most famous proposition in the history of philosophy. In Latin, cogito, ergo sum. In English, I think, therefore I am. In the intellectual wasteland he had created by destroying everything, Descartes had finally discovered his first, unshakable foundation, the thinking self, the cogito. Modern philosophy began from this solid starting point of the I, from the self to God, and from God to the world. From this single truth of the thinking self, Descartes begins to reconstruct the world, following his second and third rules of analysis and synthesis. It is a bit complex, but his logical steps are as follows. First, he performs a proof of God's existence. He argues that within his mind, the mind of an imperfect being, there exists the idea of a perfect being, God. An imperfect thing cannot create a perfect idea from within itself. Therefore, he reasons a perfect being, God, must actually exist as the cause of this idea. Next, he argues that this God guarantees the certainty of the world. A perfect being like God must be sincere and could not be a deceiver like the malicious demon. Therefore, because the sincere God guarantees it, the mathematical truths and the external world that my reason clearly and distinctly perceives must, in fact, exist. In the order of my existence dash God's existence dash the world's existence, he restored the certainty of the world, relying on reason alone. This journey of thought by Descartes fundamentally changed the course of philosophy. Before him, philosophy was primarily a question from the outside. What is the world? After Descartes, philosophy became a question from the inside. What am I? And what can I know? The concept of the self, the idea of subjectivity and consciousness as the center of the world, which we now take for granted, truly began with Descartes' cogito. It is no exaggeration to say that the values that support modern society, scientific rationalism, individual dignity, all stand on the shoulders of Descartes. Descartes discovered a ship that would not sink in the storm, the thinking I, in our modern world, overflowing with information where it is difficult to know what is true. Where do you cast the anchor of your own certainty? Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next video.